Like George, I've been defending Lutfur in the media, but I've had phone calls from journalists who have no idea about what's been going on here or the history. And I just want to talk about history, because I got elected to a borough council in 1971, and it was a breakthrough year. Across London, we had the first black and Asian councillors, only handfuls, breaking through and getting elected. 3 years later, in 74, more came on. Then in 78 more, but not here in Tower Hamlets. There was an indelible racism within the Labour Party that excluded the Bangladeshi community. My recollection may not be perfect, but I recall the first breakthrough came in 1982. I've been leader of the GLC for a year. We set up an organisation to try and get a breakthrough of good socialists onto London Borough Councils. And one person we worked with in Tower Hamlets was Graham Allen, now a Labour MP. And in his ward, which I think was St Catherine's, we finally got 2 Bangladeshis elected, 11 years after the rest of London had come to terms with that change and started reflecting. Something like that doesn't happen if you haven't got an indelible history of racism within that Labour Party. A disgrace when you think back to the courage of George Lansbury, the stand against fascism. Somewhere in that post-war period, the Labour Party in Tower Hamlets turned inward and had a disgraceful record. And we carried on that fight to break through. And in 1986, that election, we suddenly saw a real array of Bangladeshi candidates standing here in Tower Hamlets. What did the Labour leadership of this council do? They stood against the Labour Party as independents, and they took enough votes to allow the Liberals to win and rule this borough for 8 years. And I have to tell you this, if David Steele was here today, and he was the leader of the Liberal Party at the time, he'd tell you, those 8 years of that Liberal rule were a bloody embarrassment to the Liberal Party, because they carried on that policy of excluding the Bangladeshi community. And I met council officers, found it intolerable working here in this borough where you had a Liberal council for 8 years, broadly excluding the Bangladeshi community. And then Labour came back to power in 1994, and it wasn't as bad as the past. But what they did was a sort of divide and rule in the Bangladeshi community. I worked very closely with Kumar Murshi, who was a councillor here, and he was one of my main supporters in my campaign for mayor. And he was emerging as clearly a strong candidate to be the leader of Tower Hamlets Council, at the same time as being one of my mayoral advisors. What happened? He's suddenly accused of corruption and arrested and charged, set up. 2 years later, he's acquitted of this. But of course, the Labour Party had removed him and suspended him, thus eliminating a good, independent-minded Bangladeshi who would have been a great leader of this borough. And we had to wait until Lutfur Rahman became the leader of this borough in 2008 to have someone who was standing there independent, not manipulated by that little clique that still run the Labour group on the council, I'm afraid. I remember what Kumar Murshi said to me. He said, you can get on as a Bangladeshi in Tower Hamlets once you've been house trained. Well, Lutfur's not been house trained, and that's why they made certain they would get the thing. Christine's talked about the lies. I mean, I got elected to the NEC about a week after that event, so I wasn't there for it. But it was clearly a disgrace. And instead of excluding Lutfur, we should have been investigating the people that put that tissue of lies together. And still it's not available to the public, because Lutfur will be able to make a lot of money in the libel courts by challenging them in all of that. So where are we now in all of this? I don't have the slightest doubt that Lutfur's record is outstanding. And I know this from, as George was just touching on and others. It's a record that any Labour authority in Britain should be proud of, and it's a lot better than very many other Labour councils up and down the country. And yes, there are problems. We hear there are problems. PricewaterhouseCoopers have identified problems in Tower Hamlets. They didn't identify any problems in the world's banks when they were vetting them, one has to say. But I'll tell you what one of the problems is. There is an obscene coalition in Tower Hamlets Council Chamber. An unofficial coalition between Labour and the Tories to block the things that Lutfur does. People say, oh, they've not even been able to appoint a chief executive. Why? Because that obscene Labour-Tory coalition has blocked the appointment of a chief executive. And of course, that creates problems. And equally, we've got the media. I have to say, look, there's nothing unusual in what they're doing to you. They lie about all of us. I always say, if the only paper you read was the Daily Mail or the Daily Telegraph or the Evening Standard, all you'd know about Ken Livingstone that I was corrupt, alcoholic, anti-Semitic, violent tax dodger. And, do you know, when we came to examine those swing voters who tragically inclined to be Labour but voted for Boris, they were twice as likely to be readers of the Evening Standard. I mean, we've got 7 out of 10 of all the papers people read in this country owned by 5 billionaires. Murdoch, Rothermere and the Barclay brothers. All of them will do anything possible to prevent a socialist, whether it's at local council or certainly coming through to be the leader of the Labour Party. And how can you have free and fair elections when people are lied to massively and systematically by our media? One day we're going to have to change the laws about our media so that you stop these billionaires just lying and lying and lying. But what's good about being a council leader or a mayor in a borough like this is you can communicate with the people. They know. Look around. This is one of the biggest meetings I've been to for a very long time. Here's the community. Here's the community that knows the truth because they see a mayor that's made the quality of their life better. And it can go along, but Christine and I will place a motion before Labour's NEC shortly when all these mayors have been demolished for the readmittance of Lutfur Rahman as a Labour mayor here in this borough. Finally, I want to say this. I'm struck by similarities with 30 years ago because, I went through the sort of media abuse that Lutfur's going through. But do you remember there was this woman called Margaret Thatcher who abolished the Greater London Council? Do you know why they abolished it? Because we were fighting the things that they were doing. The policy of destroying our manufacturing industry, the ban on building council housing, demanding change to end sexism and racism and homophobia. And the result was the Tory party under Thatcher abolished a whole council and left a complete gap. That's effectively what they found a new way of doing with these commissioners. And these commissioners, if they take this job, should be ashamed of themselves. I say this, fight on all fronts. Look for my advice, get a bloody good lawyer and take Eric Pickles to court and challenge what he's doing. But also, when these commissioners turn up, find out where they live. And then have a peaceful demonstration outside their homes so their neighbours know. These are the sort of people who turn out and overturn a democratically elected mayor. Make their lives intolerable. Fight them, expose them, make certain everybody knows what they're doing. This is an appalling situation. Lutfur was re-elected 6 months ago. How dare they do this? As somebody earlier said, Eric Pickles don't like it, come and stand. Of course, he won't. I don't have the slightest doubt that Lutfur will come through this, that we will see the re-election of Lutfur, hopefully, if Christine and I can persuade our colleagues on the NEC, as Labour's candidate for mayor at the next election. Let's change the Labour Party in Tower Hamlets so we can all be proud of it. Lutfur, good luck. Thank you very much.